Tulsi Gabbard. So she's stripping security clearances of 51 officials who signed that bogus Hunter Biden laptop letter. You'll remember them. This is Clapper, former director of national intelligence, Hayden, former CIA chief, Panetta, former secretary of defense, Brennan, CIA chief. They all signed a letter that said, Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. You remember that, right? Now, all of these former intel people, they get briefings, nothing serious. But it's more of a professional courtesy. No more. Okay, Trump administration's knocked them out. Tulsi goes, nah, you're not going to get it. The interesting thing about this story is even though these 51 were wrong, that the Hunter laptop was fake, it wasn't. The Russians had nothing to do with it. None of them apologized. And here's what Panetta said. Go.
So you don't have any regrets about doing what you did?
No, I don't have any regrets about not trusting the Russians.
And that's not what you did. You told the American public that Hunter Biden's laptop was a phony, that the Russians put it in there. You know, I know Leon Panetta pretty well. I lost a lot of respect for him. I don't think we'll ever be chatting again. I gave money to his foundation out of Monterey, California, because he was educating students. No more. Maine. So remember the governor of Maine, Janet Mills, said, hey, federal government, I'm not obeying the executive order. I'm going to let trans men compete with girls on the athletic fields. Okay. Trump scolded her in the Oval Office, remember. Well, now, Department of Agriculture has cut off $30 million in funding to the University of Maine. So we're not getting a grant. Revenge, yeah. It's hardball. And Maine, a lot of money up there for them. Joe Biden. Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio Biden? Our nation turns its lonely eyes to you, to quote Paul Simon. He didn't have Biden in there, he had Joe DiMaggio in there. Okay, so now there is allegations. There are allegations that Biden didn't know what he was signing when he made executive orders. And AutoPen. Now it's insane because you see Trump every day signing executive orders and holding them up. Biden couldn't do that. And AutoPen had to do it. Very strange. Worth investigating. Now, throughout history, beginning with Harry Truman, AutoPens were used by presidents, but not on executive orders and laws and things like that. However, Edith Wilson signed her husband's name, Woodrow Wilson, to a whole bunch of very important documents because Woodrow had a stroke, couldn't do anything, and nobody knew about it. Confronting the presidents. If you haven't read it, shame on you. So Edith was actually running the government. But now we have AutoPen running the government, maybe. So an outfit that's looking at this very hard is the Heritage Foundation, based in D.C., and its chief counsel of the Oversight Project, Kyle Brosnan, joins us now from Washington. So how bad do you think this is?
It's pretty bad, Bill. So zooming out a little bit, the Constitution vests powers of signing bills into law, issuing pardons, things like that in one person and one person only, the President of the United States. And for things like pardons and bill signings, his physical signature is what authorizes or completes that process. And we have found evidence that President Biden did not hand sign multiple pardons and acts of clemency throughout his presidency, including the pardons of the January 6th committee members, Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Milley, and the pardon or the commutation for everyone on federal death row in the waning days of his administration. And so it leads to a question, if you combine that with the practical issues of Biden was clearly out of it, his mental faculties were diminishing throughout his presidency, it begs the question of who was running the country, who had authorization to sign these pardons who had access to the auto pen. And so we are uncovering multiple exercises of the pardon power, which only belongs to the President of the United States, that he did not hand sign those documents.
An argument might be made that he knew about the documents and was just too lazy to sign them.
That may well be the case, but we need to understand who had access and control of that auto pen. And maybe there is a written trail of evidence of of him authorizing those actions. But we've seen time and again throughout the last 4 years that the President Biden's mental capacity greatly diminished throughout his presidency. We saw the disastrous debate performance where he paused for over a minute. We saw gaffe after gaffe on the media and speaking in public. We saw Special Counsel Robert Hur refuse to prosecute him, in part because he is an elderly man with a poor memory. And so if he is too senile to see his day in court for mishandling classified documents, then there are serious questions as to his mental ability to execute his offices of the presidency.
All right. So what if it comes to light that Biden didn't know about what he was signing or what the auto pen was signing, and he had no interest in it, and they just went out? There's no mechanism to reverse those orders, is there?
Well, that's an open question. We're studying that here at the Oversight Project now. We're engaging with legal scholars and continuing our research on that. But it's unprecedented here. Generally speaking, President Bush, for example, would have bills flown halfway around the world for him to sign here. But use of the auto pen to this scale to exercise a power that solely belongs to the president and cannot be legally delegated to anyone is unprecedented. So I think the next step is it's terrifying.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and I've said this from the very beginning. He was not in charge. Let's look at the men who were in charge, and you give me a rundown of them. First one is Ron Klain, White House Chief of Staff from 21 to 23. Klain had an enormous amount of influence in that White House, correct?
Yes.
What's your assessment of him?
So, I mean, you see the reports that President Biden kept a notoriously close circle. He had a number of consiglières throughout, his very long political career. One other person that may have had access to it is Neera Tanden. She served as what is called the staff secretary, which is basically the nucleus of the White House. Any piece of paper that goes in front of the president, the staff secretary sees and sort of keeps the train running on time. And she served as staff secretary for, I believe, 2 years during the Biden presidency, including times where we noticed that clemency warrants and pardons appeared to have been auto-penned.
I don't think there's any doubt that she saw everything that went through the system. What I'm trying to get at, though, is Klain, was his governing style different than Biden's? Was he far left? Was he a moderate Democrat? What was he?
Well, I think you saw a leftward turn during the Biden administration, from ranging from their cabinet appointees to DEI policies, energy policies, you name it. I think President Biden ran in 2020 as a moderating and uniting candidate, and then when he got into office, he veered the country sharply in the leftward direction.
Sure. The open border was stunning. Open border executive order was absolutely stunning. Second guy is Mike Donilon, senior advisor to Biden from 21 to 24. You know anything about him?
Personally, no. Other than public reports that he is a very, close advisor to him. He's part of the Biden inner circle. Depending on what his position was in the White House, he may have had access to the auto pen. We were going to assume that there was some sort of policy governing this, and the individuals that had access pursuant to that policy are people that will likely need to be spoken to by investigators.
Yeah. All right. Because you got to run this down and see what the point of view of these people were. Now, Susan Rice is the next one, our National Security Advisor 13 to 17 under Barack Obama. She was in the White House all the time. She's a committed leftist, no doubt about that. And if there was a link to Barack Obama, she would be it because they're close friends, correct?
That's right. She was a prominent force in the Obama White House, and in the Biden White House, she served as domestic policy advisor, and she played a big role in another investigation that we uncovered about the Biden administration's attempt to federalize elections and mobilize the weight of the federal government to support Democratic candidates.
Yeah, if I'm you, I'm looking at Susan Rice real hard. Next guy is Jeff Zients, White House Chief of Staff, 23 to 25. I don't know anything about him. Do you know anything about him?
Well, he was Biden's original COVID czar when he first came into office, and we saw all of the efforts from the Biden White House to censor any dissent about COVID, and then was elevated to the chief of staff by the end here. Again, as chief of staff, he's side by side with the president all the time. Oftentimes, accesses proxy in meetings and things like that. He has the potential to be a big player here as well. Yeah. He would have been chief of staff when those auto pen pardons in the waning days of the administration for the January 6th committee, General Milley, Dr. Fauci, and Biden family members were issued.
Yeah, those four individuals, I think, will run the country. But, you really have to get in and bore down on what their agenda was, who they really are, and it's complicated. The final thing is, will the Heritage Foundation file a lawsuit here? What's the end game for you guys?
So we have submitted a follow-up Freedom of Information Act request to gather more information. We have the potential to sue for those FOIA requests if they're not answered and they don't follow the law. But we are in court on a number of cases concerning President Biden's mental acuity. And the most significant one on that is for the audio tape of Special Counsel Hur's interview with President Biden.
Him, right.
And in that interview, President Biden forgot key details of his life, like when his son passed away, when he was vice president, and other important details. And that interview it formed the basis for Special Counsel Hur to determine that he was not going to try and prosecute President Biden because he is an elderly man with a poor memory.
You think you're going to get that?
Who knows? The President Biden asserted executive privilege over those documents. The case has been pending and fully briefed since August, and the judge is asking for whether the new administration has a new policy here. But when the president asserts executive privilege, it's rare and it's a big deal. And
unless
so we are still
pen.
Continuing to.
Right.
That's right.
So then, all right, Kyle, let us know. Keep us posted on what you find out. I'm going to predict it's going to be a huge scandal about Joe Biden not being in charge for 4 years. That is unprecedented in this country. We appreciate your time very much today. Last year, investors scored the highest profits in decades. Unfortunately, the rest of us were held back by stacks of bills and credit card debt. Well, Done with Debt has found a solution. They created a brilliant new strategy designed to tackle debt, put cash back into your hands, so you can finally save, invest, and live your life in comfort. Done with Debt goes head to head with credit card and loan companies. Their team of negotiators and legal experts work to significantly reduce your bills, eliminate interest, and erase penalties. Bottom line, Done with Debt helps turn crushing debt into financial freedom. But some of their strategies are time sensitive, so please don't wait. Get the life you deserve. Visit donewithdebt.com. Talk with one of their strategists, absolutely free. Visit donewithdebt.com. donewithdebt.com. Let's go to space. So I'm not a big space guy, but I do know that Boeing screwed up beyond belief under the Biden administration. So Boeing launched a rocket with 2 astronauts on it, Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams. They were supposed to be up in the space station for a week. They've been there for 9 months. Okay? They can't get them back down. The government, NASA, doesn't trust Boeing. And Boeing is falling apart. So it goes into an alliance with SpaceX, which is Elon Musk's company. It's an alliance, public-private. And SpaceX was supposed to take off yesterday to rescue these astronauts. Again, it was supposed to be 7 days, 9 months. Couldn't get them down. Biden couldn't get them down. Okay? All right. So yesterday there was some mechanical, small, they say, but who knows? So they couldn't go up. Supposed to go up again on Friday. This is Cape Canaveral down in Florida. All right. I'm actually praying, because I say prayers every night, that these astronauts are safe and get them back down. But I want to play you a soundbite. This is President Biden, the only soundbite we could find. Remember, the astronauts were stranded in space for 7 months when he was in office. 7 months. And here's the only thing we can find that he said. Go.
We're cooperating on space exploration. Now, that fellow right there, former senator from Florida, very close friend of mine. Every time my wife thinks I'm getting out of hand, she says, I'm going to call him and have him send you to space. And I'm a little concerned he may want to send me to space because we got to get some folks back home.
I mean, what? Your wife's sending you to space? You got these people up there, you can't get them out? And that's what you got for the American public? I have said this and said this and said this. It's coming out. The horror that was the Biden White House is going to come out. I mean, that's just 6th grade, 7th grade stuff. All right, government shutdown. I never cover this stuff because it usually works out in the end. Talking to a very high-ranking Democrat this morning, can't say who it is, and that's okay. I mean, if I need information, I call certain people who know. And he says he thinks the Democrats are going to fold and get this thing done so that the government is funded through September. Who knows? I don't know. That's what he said. I hope that happens. The guy who's holding it all up is Chuck Schumer, the most powerful Democrat in the country, Senate Minority Leader. Now, Schumer, boy, I've known him so long, and he's one of those, if it's going to help Trump, we're going to not cooperate. We don't care what it is. I mean, there's no good coming from shutting down a government when you can extend the spending bill to September. Just extend it. And then in the meantime, negotiate whatever you want to negotiate. But then, but Schumer's getting nervous. He's not a man of courage. But this is teeing off Donald Trump big time. Now, first, I want to run the Schumer soundbite. Okay, let me run that one first, and then we'll get to the Trump soundbite. Go.
The fourth major obstacle to peace is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has all too frequently bowed to the demands of extremists like Ministers Smotrich and Ben-Gvir and the settlers in the West Bank.
Okay, so Schumer has not been a staunch ally of Israel, even though he's Jewish, all right? And Trump harbors that. So when it comes up that Schumer is now being a problem with the extending the spending, Trump's got that in his mind. Okay? Roll the tape.
The Democrats have to get their act together. And if they don't vote, then what you're going to do is you're going to have taxes that are going to go through the roof. You're going to have a very bad time. You're going to have some very bad things happen. And people are going to blame the Democrats. And Schumer is a Palestinian, as far as I'm concerned. He's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore. He's a Palestinian.
All right, now that was a gratuitous comment based upon the subject matter. The subject matter was Schumer's trying to hold up the spending. But I wanted to play it because that's in the back of Trump's mind. And then it enters into the guy who's the ICE rounded up, who I wrote about yesterday, the Palestinian sympathizer in New York City, who they're going to deport because he's on a green card, and now he's in a lockup in Louisiana. But I want his case to be heard. So there's a lot of intertwining here. But the point of the matter is that Democrats don't want to do anything to help Donald Trump. And it looks like they're willing to hurt the country in order to carry out that strategy. Migrant front. This is an amazing story. State of Florida spent $660 million on health care for migrants. It's according to the Florida Agency for Healthcare Administration. $660 million in 2024. Staggering. Thanks, Joe Biden, for the open border. Okay? So now U.S. government is picking up most of the migrant health bills. U.S. government picking up your bills? Maybe, but you paid into Medicare, right? So you're entitled to that. Migrants are paying into anything. Just keep that in mind. This is crazy. In California, according to the Economic Policy Innovation Center, EPIC, the state has gamed the federal government to the tune of $19 billion by submitting Medicaid bills to the federal government for reimbursement when they didn't use $19 billion. The feds did give the state of California the $19 billion, sent it to them, and the state turned around and used it for health care for migrants. $19 billion. Medicaid. This is scandalous. Scandalous. That's Newsom and the state legislators in Sacramento. In Boston, you remember Mayor Wu testified last week in front of the House Oversight Committee. She hired a law firm to prep her. You know how much Boston, the city of Boston, paid the law firm to prep Michelle Wu, the mayor, for that hearing? $650,000. $650,000. To all my friends in Boston, that's where your tax money is going. $650,000 to tutor Michelle Wu for a what? Hour Q&A? Another scandal, but Boston Globe, boy. This is even worse. Listen to this. So there's a guy in Indiana named Jonathan Richardson, 42 years old. He kills a baby, 11-month-old daughter, strangles her. There he is. Looks like a nice guy, doesn't he? He's convicted, sentenced to 55 years in prison. Gets into prison, changes his name to Autumn Cordelone. Okay? Now he's demanding that the state of Indiana pay for his operation to go from a man to a woman. Okay? That operation is estimated to cost $150,000. State of Indiana says, we're not paying for that. All right? We're not, you and your tattoos, go back to your cell. Put his face up there again. I mean, this is so outrageous. Enter the ACLU of Indiana. They sue in federal court that this murderer of an 11-month-old baby is entitled to changing his gender at the expense of the taxpayers. Okay. Enter Judge Robert Young, U.S. District Court. He goes, yeah, okay. Yeah. You people in Indiana, you got to pay for the operation. All right. Young was nominated by Bill Clinton. He's a liberal guy. Okay. So now this is where it stands. This judge has ordered this creep, murderer, killer, to get an operation that costs the folks of Indiana $150,000. Now, it's going to be appealed. All right, the Indiana authorities are going to appeal it, and he'll win in the end. This guy's not going to get it. But this is our system. How corrupt is our system? How corrupt is our system? That we are spending billions of dollars on migrant health care when working people don't get free health care. We got to pay for it. And a murderer like that wants an operation. I'd give him an operation. Who would I give him an operation? Believable. President Trump is trying to fix the economy, but some believe the damage is already done. As the dollar value drops, China's power and gold keep going up. I called American Hartford Gold to diversify with physical precious metals, and you might consider that as well. They will help you secure your savings with physical gold and silver delivered right to your door, or you can set up a tax advantage gold IRA. Plus, it's tax and penalty free to roll over your current 401k or IRA. With billions in precious metals delivered, thousands of 5-star ratings, and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau. They are the only precious metals dealer I trust. So please call or text American Hartford Gold. Tell them O'Reilly sent you, and you might get $15,000 of free silver on a qualifying order. Call 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Bill O'Reilly here, emphasizing the importance of a safer alternative in threatening situations. Before using lethal force, consider the Byrna less lethal pistol launcher, a device designed to incapacitate an attacker with tear gas and kinetic ammunition for up to 40 minutes. It minimizes legal risks and permanent harm. We hear from a Byrna user, Adam, who faced a road rage driver. Armed with his Byrna launcher, Adam de-escalated the threat by aiming the laser at the aggressor. That allowed him to wait safely for police intervention. That night, Byrna not only prevented a potential tragedy, but also saved potential lives, all without physical harm. Byrna, legal across all 50 states with no background checks required, has sold more than 500,000 units. Please go to Byrna.com/Bill, save 10%, and learn so many Americans why they choose Byrna. That's Byrna.com/Bill to save 10%. Smart life, kindness. So as you know, Holly the Terror Dog passed last week, 9.5, brain tumor. And I made an announcement, and my family issued a statement about Holly. So on X, 500,000 people engaged in that statement. 500,000 all over the world. 100,000 posts, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and about 200,000 watched the segment where I talked about Holly on the No Spin News. This is apart from our broadcast. So if you add all that up, we're about 1 million people all over the world reacted to Holly. Now I got a beautiful sculpture from a guy in Okinawa, Japan. I was going to give his name, but I don't want to do that. But if you're watching me, I really appreciate that. It was very, very skillfully done, and it's very kind of you to send that to me. Kindness. All right, so everybody who reacted to Holly's passing were being kind. You know, because a lot of people, who care? I don't care. And they say great things about Holly and all of that. You have to teach that. Kindness has to be taught. You're not born as a baby kind. They're nice babies and they're cute and all that, but they're not born kind. You have to teach it. Public school does not teach kindness. Because I taught high school way back, but it was, pretty much the same. There's nobody teaching kindness. Bullying and all of that. I mean, they get confronted once in a while, but they're not bringing kindness into their lesson plan, they being the school boards. And teachers, I guess, would like to do it. I hope they would, but there's just not emphasized at all. Parents, some of them teach kindness, but others don't. And if you're a selfish parent or grandparent, all you care about is yourself, believe me, that kid's going to pick that up. Kindness is the key to life if you want to be a positive presence on the planet. You got to think about other people. You got to go outside of yourself. If you're thinking about yourself every second, which is what we're doing in America these days, narcissism all-time high, then you're not going to possibly be kind because you don't even know. It doesn't register. So you parents and grandparents out there, and even if they're teenagers, you got to hone in on this. Because kind people, they prosper. Unkind people, in the short term, they might, but they're miserable in the long term. That is Smart Life. Thanks again for the Holly stuff. Meant a lot to me and my family. Thank you for watching the No Spin News. To watch the full episode anytime on BillO'Reilly.com, please sign up to become a premium or concierge member. Visit BillO'Reilly.com to sign up and start watching today.